How's it doing, guys? Cody guys back again, dropping yet another video. Sick of that fucking introduction, by the way. Right, guys, as you can tell from the title of this video, it's going to be on Greater Manchester Police. To be honest, it's Greater Manchester Police specifically because it's a story that I've just read in the Manchester Evening News on their app and stuff, right? Because obviously I keep up to date with news and stuff and social affairs and current affairs and stuff. And this morning, the Chief Superintendent or Chief Constable, whatever you want to call him, Ian Hopkins, was on BBC Radio Manchester, right? Now, what it is, yeah, obviously, everybody knows that since 2010, the Tories have cut budgets and cut policing and cut NHS and just everything, guys, yeah? In other words, the country's on its arse, right? Fewer police on the streets, criminals are prospering. This is relevant to Manchester, but it might as well be relevant to every part of the UK because let's face it, guys, you're seeing less police, you're seeing more crime, gun crime, knife crime, low-level antisocial behaviour, burglaries, commercial burglaries, dwellings, assaults, offences against the person, acid attacks, moped crime, knife crime. Just the streets are lawless, guys, yeah? The country's gone to the dogs, the streets are lawless. And this morning, the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, GMP as they're known, Greater Manchester Police, has stated that they haven't lost control of the streets. But then, as he spoke more in his interview, which I've wrote down the quotes here, it's quite apparent that they've lost control of the streets and stuff. It's relevant. They're making the story relevant to a certain area, right? Hyde. There's been a lot of antisocial behaviour. There's kids 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They're getting pissed. They're carrying blades, yeah, knives, yeah. They're terrorising the local supermarket, the Asda. They're terrorising local people. They're terrorising the shopping centre. They're terrorising the market traders outside. Now, I used to live in Hyde. I used to live on Market Street in Hyde, which is right in the centre. I also used to do the doors in Hyde as well. It's a small area of Tameside. Then further up, if you go right up onto the top, you've got Attersley and stuff, a council estate. A lot of nice people from Attersley, not a little area. Same with Hyde, a lot goes on there and stuff, right? But the superintendent, guys, right, was called out today. Is it fair to say you've lost the control of the streets, right? Now, the reality is, yes, they have. But he said no. But then he goes on to say the following. Right, so Chief Superintendent Ian Hopkins, right, of Greater Manchester Police, he says here, we are just not able to get to every single crime to the degree the public would wish us to. So in other words, that means to me, from a former criminal, someone that's anti-police and anti-establishment, that they're prioritising the calls. Now, for those that don't know, if you ring 999, yeah, don't bother with that 101 shit, right? Because it's a waste of time. It takes forever to answer the phone. If you need to ring 999, right? I don't do that. I take the law into my own hands. But if you have to ring 999, they grade your call. Like, if there's an immediate threat to life, it's going to go in as a grade A call or a grade 1 call. It's like 1 is the highest, and I think it's down to about 5 or something like that. Obviously, 1's an immediate response, and then you've got so on and so forth. The fact is, guys, right, response times for the police are down massively, right? And then he said, again, speaking to BBC Radio Manchester this morning, Ian Hopkins, the Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, stated, policing cuts meant dealing with lesser crimes was having to make way for murders, serious sexual offences and terrorism, right? Now, again, this to me as a former criminal, right, plays into the criminal's hands. These youths, right, guys, right, they're not criminals so per se, right, but they're going down, they're on the wrong side of the tracks, aren't they? Now, the thing is, guys, right, we live in a impoverished city, right? Certain areas are nice and stuff, but these Hyde, it's not really a posh area. You know what I mean? You've got G-Cross, you've got Hyde, you've got Attersley Estate, you've got Woodley, do you know what I'm saying? You've got Flowery Fields. But like I say, it's not like a posh area, so to speak, right? Now, like I say, these youths, guys, right? And I'm not sticking up for him any which way. What I'm saying to you is they are disenfranchised. They don't have a stake in society, guys, right? There's nothing for them to do locally, right? So boredom, they start to play up, don't they? They're getting pissed. There's nothing for them to do. They're bored. They wind people up, try and get a reaction out of them. Goad people, wind people up, try and cause mischief, don't they? Now, I'm not condoning that actions, not in any which way. But what I'm saying to you is the police are saying they've not lost control of the streets, but then he's saying himself, policing cuts meant dealing with lesser crimes was having to make way for murders, serious sexual offences, and terrorism. So that, to me, what they're saying from a former criminal's perspective is we're having to let the small crimes fly under the radar, and there's a lot of low-level crimes, right? The guy contradicts himself several times in the interview. I'm not going to go into that, but the fact is, right, the Greater Manchester Police, there's fewer police on the streets, guys. The police cuts the police cuts by the hands of the Tory government, right, have actually handcuffed and limited the police into what crimes they can respond to. They're having to look at crimes and think, right, we can deal with that. Let that slip, we'll deal with this, right? And then another call will come in, and they're getting that many calls because there's that much going on. Community police stations have closed down. Frontline policing services, frontline policing numbers have been cut, right? Armed police have been cut. The serial sex offences unit, which was with Greater Manchester Police, has since been disbanded, right? So like I say, it's fast because it plays into the criminal's hand. It's a green light for criminals, guys, to commit crimes across the board. Now, like I say, I don't vindicate people committing crime. Absolutely not. That would be it'd be irresponsible of me to do that. And like I say, but what I'm simply stating is this chief constable said one thing, and I'm coming at it from a criminal's perspective, right? That's calling him out on what he said, contradicting himself in the interview massively. And like I say, the fact is there are not the numbers of police on the streets, right? Like I've alluded to, places are unpoliced, police stations have closed down, places are going unpoliced, and the youths are running feral. This is what this story alludes to, right? I'm going to put a link in the description below, so please feel free, guys, to read it at your leisure. Right, he said, Greater Manchester Police, GMP, as I've alluded to, had worked incredibly hard to reshape the force, in part by bringing in new technology, not new police officers, guys, new technology to enable them to do the job with fewer people, or should I say fewer officers, right? So the police there, what they're saying, from what I have read, from what he said, from his own words, their quotes, right? So he's admitting that in part they're bringing in new technology, right, which isn't going to stop policing, right? CCTV, whatever the police funding has got, right? The fact is they're trying to use technology as opposed to recruiting police officers because the budget won't allow. Again, criminals are rubbing their hands, criminals are it's a green light for criminals to commit crime across the board. Now, this is relevant to Hyde and Greater Manchester, but what you've got to put into perspective, guys, right? Manchester, I think it's the second biggest police force, or it was the second biggest police force area outside of London, right? Now, the fact is, as I've alluded to, right, these problems, these antisocial behaviour, orders, right, these antisocial behaviour that's going on in and around Hyde from these feral youths, as they've been called by the media and by the police and stuff and by local residents, it's happening everywhere, every little area, every suburb, every council estate, every pocket. As I've alluded to, community police stations are closing down, there's no visual deterrent on the streets, right? So what's happening? Criminals, kids are bored, they're disenfranchised, they're probably more disenfranchised than they've ever been. There's a general culture of anti-establishment, anti-authority towards the police and the establishment. And like I say, they play up in this regard. And like I say, they're talking about Hyde, but it's a much bigger problem. And if you spread it out to the United Kingdom, guys, and to the UK, right, it's going to be happening everywhere. He said here, Chief Constable Ian Hopkins of Greater Manchester Police said the following: the bottom line is there are 2,000 less officers and we are having to make really difficult decisions. Now, again, they're having to prioritise, right? Don't go to that call. They'll be actively telling officers, don't investigate that, because they don't have the manpower to throw it. So what they're doing, they're only focusing, from what he said, on serious crime, antisocial behaviour and other crimes are flying under the radar. The government announced announced a plan that shoplifters, where it used to be £100 before they prosecute, it's now up to £200. So if you're a clever shoplifter, you'd steal £199 worth of shopping, and then you wouldn't be dealt with by the courts, you'd get a fixed penalty. The fact is, guys, right, I'm out of crime now, but I definitely got out of crime at the wrong time. Crime's flourishing, right? And criminals can be active. People getting away with murder. You're seeing acid crime, car crime, violent offences against the person, murder, serious sexual assaults and stuff like that. It's all going on, guys, right? And the facts are that the Tory government have cuts to policing have led them threadbare, overstretched and massively understaffed. Now, the government cuts, guys, right, from my opinion as a former criminal, are that they're undermining the police's role. The police do a very difficult job, right, with an ever-decreasing budget. But again, I'm not feeling sorry for the police. The police stitch me up. The police are corrupt. They're rife with corruption. I used to do the door with a former GMP police officer, right? GMP stands for Greater Manchester Police. He was actually dealing drugs from his police car. He's no longer with us. Tragically died of a heart attack. God bless him, may he rest in peace and stuff. But the reality is, guys, right, the police were corrupt. They stitch people up. They've got targets to hit and stuff, right? They're not giving full disclosure, which is seeing people walk for serious sexual assaults and stuff like that. And then they're hiding evidence when people are innocent and people are being sent to prison and stuff, guys, right? It's all to do that they've got targets to hit, the CPS have got conviction targets they need to hit. It's a big circle, guys, of corruption and stuff. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, right? But like he's alluded to here, there are 2,000 less police officers and we are having to make really difficult decisions, right? As I've alluded to in the previous comment, he said that they're bringing in new technology, right? New technology is not police, and I've alluded to it 1,000 times. It's a green light for criminals to commit crimes across the board and the police are powerless to stop it. A set of gloves, a balaclava, and it's very easy to get away with crime. Obviously not vindicating people to commit crime. And it says here, on a daily basis, we are having to assess each and every incident that comes in and say how much is a threat, how much threat is that causing to a community or an individual. As I've alluded to, right, they're prioritising the calls, right? So in that regard, they're going to be looking internally and saying, right, don't go to that crime, go to this crime. So they're having to pick and choose which crimes they deal with, right, and which crimes they don't do. So as I've alluded to again, that is a criminal's paradise, guys. With fewer police on the streets, they're prioritising the calls and stuff. They're having to say, right, we'll let that slide. We need to deal with this, right? Whose hand does that play into? The criminal's hands. This antisocial behaviour that's going on in Hyde with these youths that are attacking market stalls and attacking the carousel and stuff and throwing fizzy cans of pop at people and stuff. It's bad behaviour, it's wrong and stuff, right? And I don't condone it in any which way. They need a slap, right? But the fact is, the disenfranchised youth, there's nothing for them to do. Boredom, peer pressure, gangs, places are unpoliced, youths are running feral, guys. It's going to go on that way, isn't it? And it's happening up and down this country, guys. The country's gone to the dogs. The Tory government, criminals will be voting for the Tory government next, because the fact is, the NHS is threadbare. The bloody cuts to policing. The police's funding is being cut. And as I've alluded to, prisons were overcrowded. With the shoplifting stuff and stuff now going up to £200 before they'll prosecute. Shoplifters are some of the most prolific reoffenders out there, guys, right? And like I've said to you, the fact is, with fewer police and stuff like that, and like I say, community support officers, the attitudes toward policing, guys, are worse than when I was a kid, and they're getting worse and worse and worse, and they're only going to get worse as we get older and stuff. But like I say, as he said himself, we on a daily basis, we are having to assess each and every incident that comes in and say how much of a threat is that causing to a community or to an individual, guys, right? As I've alluded to, low-level crime, anything below serious crime, in my eyes, from what this chief constable has said, is being left. So the small fish are getting through the net, and they're just going after the big fish. Right, and like I say to you, it's easier and easier with fewer police on the streets to get away. It's easier and easier to get away with crime, knowing that the chances of you getting caught are actually very slim to none unless you get caught in the act. But again, when was the last time you saw a bobby on the beat? Community police officers, when was the last time you seen them being respected in the street? They get told to fuck off. They get assaulted. Police officers get assaulted. People have attacked police officers. People have even killed police officers, guys. Attitudes towards policing and authority, guys, is at an all-time low, guys, right? And it's here, residents say trouble has spread like the plague. But again, with fewer police on the streets, guys, right, what do they honestly expect? people at the community are annoyed at the police in that specific area because the police are not getting hands-on. They're not dealing with the situation. And the residents are growing frustrated because they're like, well, we pay our council tax, we pay tax, we pay this, that and the other, right? So why are you not dealing with it? And as the Chief Constable's alluded to, we're having to prioritise our calls, we're having to let stuff slide, and low-level crime is having to make way for murder, serious sexual offences and terrorism, guys. That's the reality of policing, not just here in Manchester, guys, but here in the country of England. England, Wales, probably Scotland, Ireland, everywhere, and Wales, right? The fact is, it's a green light for criminals to commit crime across the board. The police are powerless to stop it, guys. The matter's only going to get worse, and it's fast becoming a criminal's paradise. I'm out of crime, but I definitely got out of crime at the wrong time. Right, guys, going to leave this video here. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.